Hey everyone, my name is Patrick. I'm one of the pastors on staff, and today I get to bring you your daily Hope Devotional. Now I remember when my son Caleb was really young and he was just learning to talk. There was one word that he had a really difficult time communicating, and when he spoke the word, it actually sounded like a very inappropriate word that I won't repeat today, but we would just chuckle and laugh when he was young and just learning how to pronounce these things, and it was really kind of cute at the time. Thankfully, as he grew older, he learned how to pronounce correctly these words, and his language became stronger and those sort of things as we began to work with him on how to pronounce correctly. What's interesting is in our relationship with God, sometimes we need some coaching, we need some examples about how we are to pray, how we are to communicate with Him. Now thankfully, Jesus provided that for us, and we see this in Luke chapter 11 verse 1. What's really cool about this is that one of the disciples came to Jesus after Jesus had spent some time praying and said, "Lord, teach us how to pray." Now this is one of the most familiar passages, one of the most familiar prayers that we have. It's called the Lord's Prayer. What I want to do is just walk through phrase by phrase so that we can learn to develop a better prayer language, a better prayer life as we communicate with God. Jesus said these words in Luke chapter 11. He said, "When you pray, say, Father." I want to stop there. Think about that for a moment. We get to call the God of the universe Father. It's a profound statement, a profound name that we can speak to Him in that way. And then Jesus went on and said, "Hallowed be your name." In other words, holy is God's name, which speaks of God's otherness, that He is not like us, that He is holy, that He is set apart. So we have intimacy in one sense, that we get to call Him Father, and yet He is holy and great and mighty. And then it goes on to say, Jesus said, "Your kingdom come." Now notice before even one single petition is made, there's really a sense of surrender, a sense of recognizing that we will submit to God's will. And then he goes on in verse 3 and he says, "Give us each day our daily bread." In other words, the basic necessities for each day we make the request for. And then in verse 4, Jesus says, "Forgive us our sins." This is interesting, and we get to not just, flippantly confess our sin, "Lord, forgive me for this," but to really spend some time going, "God, forgive me for these things which have been offensive to you." And then it goes on, Jesus says, "For as we also forgive everyone who sins against us, we extend forgiveness as we receive God's forgiveness to us." As we grow in our understanding of what we've been forgiven of, it's easier for us then to extend forgiveness to those who have sinned against us, which is an important part of the model of prayer that God has given us. And then finally, Jesus says, "And lead us not into temptation." I find this challenging and encouraging that we are called to ask God to protect us from temptation. Now, I don't know about you, but sometimes when our world gets turned upside down, our schedules are all changed because of the coronavirus, and things are just really kind of unknown right now. Sometimes it can be tempting to go to familiar patterns of sin. And here Jesus says, pray that God would hold you strong in the middle of temptation. That's my encouragement to you, that as you pray, that you would ask God to lead you not into temptation, but to seek Him and to grow in Him and to remain steadfast. May you use the Lord's Prayer not necessarily to recite, but as an outline to guide you to grow in your prayer language with God the Father. Amen.